Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our online discussion forum on the topic, Are My Services Non-Essential? My name is Sheila Singham. I'm the moderator for this session. I am the founder of Human Equation, a company that's involved in talent development, coaching, and consultancy services. And what we do is go into companies and equip their employees with skills and help to change corporate culture and impart EQ skills and so on. And one of the things that I realized during this time is that pretty much many of what is termed as non-essential services by the government have come to like a standstill because we can't go out, we can't market, we can't provide these services to people. So what are people in these businesses doing? How they're keeping busy, how they're keeping connected? And that's kind of what today's session is going to be, where we talk to our four panelists, and I'd like to introduce them to you now. Zoe Wu is founder of ARTtherapy. It's a school that conducts art lessons for anybody and everybody, beginner level children, people who thought that they could not draw to save their life, and that's where I started until I met Zoe. And then we have with us also Prakash Daniel, comedian and photographer. I've seen Prakash on stage. He's hilarious, absolutely funny. You must catch him when things are back to normal and he's on stage again. Now we've got Abang Amirrul Khirudin with Black Visuals, a design agency, who is also one of the people that we work with, as a partner. And we have Vanitha Krishnasamy of AdMy Concepts. She's the founder. She's in PR, image building, branding, that sort of consultancy, events, and so on. And she is also one of the partners of Human Equation. So without much ado, the first question for today is, how do you feel about your services being labeled as non-essential? What are your thoughts on this? Maybe we'll start with you, Prakash.
So it is a bit weird when they label, especially like what I do. So I do photography and stand-up comedy. But most stand-up comedy nowadays, I think it's a bit weird because like people want to do something, want to feel something during these times, and labeling something like this, especially like in the business of making people laugh, non-essential is actually a bit absurd to me because like I think there can be ways to be done to do shows online and like how you can actually get people to be part of the shows, because the whole idea of stand-up is you do need to have an audience in front of you. It's a bit hard. But I actually managed to do one show. I actually did 2 corporate shows with a few clients, and we did it with their Microsoft Teams. So the experiment worked. So I think if you can do it that way, I'm sure it should not be called non-essential services. I know people are a bit afraid to explore because a lot of comedians especially need the interaction with someone while you are watching
energy.
a show. Yes. So in that sense, it's a bit hard, but like there can be other ways to do it, and I'm sure like this kind of forums, even like a talk show, like a live stream that we do, I think will be nice. So yeah.
Well, thank you for that. What about you, Zoe?
Well, I think essential, it means differently to everyone. So like emergency, like right now, I think the essential things will be like food, water, and shelter. But to keep our minds working, like this period, I know there's a lot of people is upset about the extension of the MCO, and then I think creating arts can actually keep your mind occupied and translate your your inner self, your moods through painting.
I totally agree with you, Zoe. You are keeping me sane and sending me art supplies during this time. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll be doing with that spare time. The urge to create. Yeah. And what about you, Amirrul? How do you see this labeling as your services as non-essential?
Well, I guess like to be honest, like, it's quite disappointing, like being labeled as non-essential. But like like we are not the frontliners, but then obviously we can take it to ourselves to like basically be a part of like the whole process of helping out the whole process of trying to tell people like, all right, this is what is happening. So I look at it like I guess like as much as we're not essential in that part, we also are essential in terms of like the economy bit of it. So I guess like when people are fighting on the front line, we are the front line when it comes to like the economy, where we can actually function provided we find a solution on how we want to work online.
And Vanitha, do you have, from your perspective, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I think right now with services, basically, I mean, I personally, categorize it, into two categories. I say basically what I say is that it's a must-have and a nice-to-have. So a nice-to-have for me basically is when my services come in, which is PR. Although a lot of people may think right now that PR services are not something that is important right now, but I think more than ever, businesses should be publicizing themselves, more in order to get more people to be interested in whatever they are, whatever they're doing, whether they're small or big, whether it's products or it's services. And also, I think at the end of the day, a lot of people don't necessarily know how to strategize their business. Perhaps they don't even know who their target market is or the people they should be targeting right now. So, that's exactly how my business becomes relevant right now, in order for me to be able to help small or big businesses to be able to strategize, to be able to see that there are areas in their businesses that they can do better or create different levels or different strategies where they can then perhaps be getting the maximum out of their business during this partial lockdown. So yeah, but it always comes down to, again, it comes down to no budget, so
Yeah.
what do we do then?
That's an interesting question, because I'm also in the services industry, so I'm just going to add my take on this as if you're saying that training, coaching, all these services are not essential, well, we can't go out there, but we can actually do it online. We can make it essential by going to it online. I've had so many requests to do these webinars, people not knowing what are the protocols that the etiquette of working from home. So just a simple 1 hour lecture is actually considered essential to help people to cope with this time. And I'm also, right now, I think, as you said, companies should be innovating. It's one thing about staying alive, surviving, but you cannot survive this at this time by doing business the same way. You need to be looking at innovative new ways of doing business for now to keep things going, and also to plan for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months ahead. How are you going to sort of recover what you have lost now? What are you going to be doing to cause that marketing impact to snowball? So the next question, what activities have you embarked on to remain relevant and connected to your consumer base during this lockdown? I'm going to ask Amirrul to answer that first.
Right. So I guess like with like what kind of activities that we are looking at, like being informed about the MCO was quite short notice for everyone in that sense, because I think like we were told like 2 days before. So like I think like when we started the whole thing, like obviously we had to educate our clients and like our future clients that we are actually operating online, and making sure that all the services that we are providing has to be able to be done in such a way that it's much more what's the word for it? I guess like relevant. I guess like trying to like make sure like everything goes on. So like I think that the best way I can put it is like the show must go on no matter what. So like so I think like how we do this is like basically trying to be relevant itself also has to be tied to like working with social media and like making sure people understand what our services are all about, and I guess like and how we evolve during these difficult times also. So I think that's just very important.
Thank you. And Zoe?
Well, during the MCO period, actually we offer a lot of like live tutorial on Instagram, and then we also doing like online classes, and we sell art materials as well to our students or any new customers that they want to try to paint during this period. And then we make a lot of process paintings video, and then we upload in our social media and also YouTube. So some people who is like interested in picking up art classes, they might not understand how the process looks like. Then they can actually view it from our social media and understand it more. Like, oh, this is the process, like how to do watercolor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great, because I think in the West, there are other platforms that have actually capitalized on this already. And you're probably one of the first few in Malaysia to be doing that. So kudos to you, Zoe. Vanitha, how have you embarked? What activities have you embarked on to remain relevant and connected to your consumer base during this lockdown?
I think the first thing I've actually done, Sheila, is to keep myself connected on social media. I'm in PR, so I have to make sure that I'm constantly publicizing myself. And the way I do that is to keep myself relevant. Post up information, post up news that are that are current. Maybe have my take or my say on the news that is probably the current news that is out, and also that's how I connect to my audience, or my potential, or my clients. Otherwise, how else have I done? I'm part of webinars. I also am part of different activities online with different people, just talking about the industry itself and how ways to actually try and do things differently. Try and probably get to a place where we can actually help businesses publicize themselves more innovatively. So that's something that I've been talking about to people in the industry itself, and how we can help. I think one of the ways that actually we spoke about, some of my friends in the industry spoke about packaging our services, maybe even bringing down our costs, and packaging our services. So, people during this time when they think that, we are non-essential, or it's just a nice to have service, we can actually provide these services and say, we are still relevant. We still can do things for you. If you don't have the budget, then tell us what the budget, what's your budget, and then we can work around it. But we are still going to help each other. That's exactly what I've been doing, I suppose. Keeping myself active and my mind active as well.
Thank you.
It's all about staying clean.
That's true. And Prakash?
Okay, so in the business of comedy, I would say this is like one of the best times to come up with like crazy content. So that is it's because okay. So unlike Vanitha, I like how Vanitha said, like, they work together and like with those people in the same industry. The thing about comedy is it's a very individualistic kind of art form. So everyone is out there. It's like a huge pool right now. Every single comedian, from like the open micer to like the ones who are doing really well, are trying to put out content out there, and it's just it's a crazy pool of content. But for me personally, I've been like I've been very active on Instagram, because Instagram is the only way for me, I would say. It's because people want to see things really fast nowadays. So, and I've been very active on Twitter because sometimes we do have funnier statements coming out from our administration compared to comedians. So it helps us to, and I'm just saying because and we have to pick on these things, and make it funny, because like sometimes people are stressed, and like, because the idea or concept of comedy is always known to be tragedy plus time equals to comedy. So it's all about like the right timing and like doing the and being relevant. So and I also do an Instagram live every Friday at 11 p.m. So I just call the show like Pretty Late with Prakash Daniel, and I put up like questions, because you can ask questions on Instagram, and I just have a chat with the people who come on the Instagram, and just talk to them, because that is the only thing that we as comedians can do, because it's very hard for people to actually donate or pay to watch a show. So a lot of comedians are just doing like, they're just doing shows like from their living room, which is like, in a way, it's one of the saddest things to do as a comedian, because like you're performing to your cats, or something. But that's what I've been doing. I've been like literally putting out content out there every day, even a simple question, just to be relevant. And my photography side, I've been like looking at all my old photos that I've not posted, and putting that out as well, and doing like mini challenges, asking people to post like, hey, so like today we're going to what photos you have of like plants. So like I do a challenge and everyone has just been like sharing and stuff like that. So yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
That's great. It's about keeping the conversation going, isn't it? The activity going. And that's really important now in a time of like lockdown and people are isolated. And sometimes they're looking for services, they're looking for information, they're looking for a laugh, or some PR consultant maybe who could tell them what to do, or I want to do art, I want to learn some design, and there you are. So I think being ahead of the game means actually being out there. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Okay, so I'm going to ask you another question. With new ideas and strategies being implemented to do business online, not just by yourselves, but practically everybody out there, me included, what would you say has been the greatest learning that you have taken from this whole experience? Can we ask Vanitha to go first on this one?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway or lesson from this is to really stay focused, because it's very easy to get sidetracked, and because there's just so much information out there at the moment. Everyone is out there saying so many different things at the moment. I think it's so important to keep your focus, and still have your eye on the ball, and know exactly where you're going to go at the end of all this. It's a very uncertain time right now, and to be able to keep that focus it's actually very difficult. And exactly what Prakash said, it's great to be able to actually go out there and turn on your phone in the morning and find something on IG that makes you laugh. There are a lot of comedians these days, even people coming out with really funny content right now. I think that's really interesting as well. So I as much as you want to keep the focus, I think also to keep your directions right, and to basically I feel that you have to just keep your sanity by taking things easy as well. There's so many things that I think we take for granted in our lives, and as much as we want to make money, as much as we want to be able to pay our bills on a monthly basis, I think also it's very important to reconnect, with the people in our lives, friends, family, your pets.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too bad an idea to actually be telling jokes to your cats, Prakash. So yeah, I think that's really nice. So yeah, that's what I've been, that's the biggest lesson I've learned. And not to procrastinate. I've been doing that for so long, and now no, clean up everything, do everything, work-wise as well. And just being very innovative right now. Suddenly you realize that, oh my God, I never thought of these ideas. And now that I'm pushed to the corner, I'm actually starting to think of different ways of how I can make my business run better. And, and just the sense of camaraderie that comes as well with friends and people in the same industry, your peers, family. It's really, really, really interesting. I think we live in interesting times right now.
Yeah, and something that you said, being forced to be very innovative now. Many people think of innovation as thinking outside the box, but there's a new theory, right? It's not about thinking outside the box, about thinking within the box. We're now literally in a box, the four walls of our home. So coming up and creating new ideas, new strategies, new ways to do business, that's really what do we have now? We've got the internet, we've got partnerships, we've got, collaborations going on, and got content. That's what we need to do to put together and come up with new ideas. That's great. Thank you for that, Rani. Zoe, so what has been your biggest learning takeaway from this entire way of doing business this period?
Before the lockdown, we actually do like you come to classes but right now students cannot come for physical classes. So I think for now we need to try more new things like doing online classes, and then we do few types of online classes like live stream or like pre-record, and then we also have to be creative to think like what kind of classes or what kind of painting or coaching or teaching that can actually solve problem for our students. Yeah, and also like we have to, to provide something new for students or clients. Yeah, for
That's
now.
great. And hence the name of your company, ARTtherapy, is so apt right now
Yeah,
because it's really giving people out there some therapy. And
yeah.
Amirrul, what's your biggest learning from this period?
I guess for me and my company is basically being adaptable, and because we are in visual production in that sense, like we have to scale back that part of it and move on into things that are much more offline, meaning like we are online but meaning we're not on set in that sense. So we have to learn into like trying to make sure that the business can survive, doing businesses that are you know not we I guess like the post-production part is not, that's not our main business, but right now when this kind of situation happens, we basically have to refocus, and I guess and also be prepared to make changes to make sure that our business is viable in that sense. So yeah.
Thank you. And Prakash?
So so basically, just now before we started the discussion, you asked me like, am I always like, loud or like crazy, like how I'm on stage. Truth to be told, actually, like this time and period actually like has given me the opportunity to just, because I know sometimes we are trying our level best to put out so much of stuff out there, and like we are being bombarded with constant information, and not to say like unwanted forwarded messages from my Indian father, from because he believes that is the news source, and stuff like that, and I think so people need to realize that it's okay just to be like on your own and not do anything, and just be like focusing towards yourself, because I think in this whole chaos right now, I think so people are finding an outlet to like release, and it's also people forget to realize like it's okay for you to be still at the moment and just be on your own and think about like and stuff like that. And that is the lesson that personally that I've learned. But like as far as the business is concerned, I feel like I've made like a lot of like good connections, collaborations with comedians, not just from here, but like people from around the world. Like Vanitha said, like, I kept in touch with a lot of the comedians that I met, like when I did the festival in Melbourne. So I kept in touch with them, and also like started a few groups where we do a lot of writing. So we've been like hashing out a lot of show ideas that we maybe wrote like 2-3 years ago. We've never thought about it again, and now it's come resurfacing when we open our notebooks and like, hey, I actually wrote about this. How can we make this work? So it gives a lot of time to just be in the space, because as comedians, like we have to write. So the writing process is very difficult, because it's not easy just to write, and because when you write, you have to go out and perform, and then if the joke doesn't work, you have to go back and rewrite it again, and then go perform it again. And now we don't have open mics. So in that sense, the other lesson I've learned is actually like collaborations are very important in this time and space, because everyone, as much as want to do things on your own, we need proper like I would say, like friends, and like like hashtag squad goals. You need that to be with you, and you can have people you can rely on, so that your career or like whatever you do, people can be there for you as well. So
it's the
because,
feedback and the motivation.
yeah, it's very important. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much. I just have one last thing, a roundup of the session. If you were to, there are people listening out there who also might be in services that considered non-essential, and I put that in quote marks. Do you have any sort of words before we take questions? Any last words that you would like to offer them to motivate and encourage them? We start with Amirrul.
I guess, to be honest, like as much as this is like a disaster, like I think like it's like one of the best time for us to actually regroup. And I guess like for businesses it's also like the best time for us to actually promote. So like I guess we have to look at this as an opportunity, not as a disaster. So I guess that's the best thing that I can think of, to be honest. And yeah.
That's a wonderful, optimistic, message to everyone, Amirrul. Thank you for that. And Zoe?
Well, I think during this period, we have to take this period as an opportunity to you can have more time to think about your business direction and how to actually connect with other people and do collaboration. So I think we should have a more optimistic mind towards this crisis, and then I think you can think of something better.
Yep. Great,
Yeah.
great. And Vanitha? Vanitha, can you hear me?
Well, I think basically re-strategize, rebrand yourself or your business. Sit down, list down the things that has worked for you before, and then try and rework it. Make it something that your own. Rebrand. When I say rebrand, you're not just rebranding your business, but rebranding yourself and reconnect, make new contacts. You never know. You may just have a future client there. I think even if you're not having work or business right now happening, just continue doing the things that you have to do. Just build the connections. Again, re-strategize yourself and rebrand yourself, because you don't know when this is over. You don't know exactly where this could take you. That's all. I think that's worked for me. So I'm sure that'll work for a lot of people as well.
And Prakash?
Yes, I would agree with Vanitha as well, because personally, because a lot of people, especially in the arts, when you do this art form, we don't have the idea of okay, we have to re-strategize, rebranding. I've actually looked at making my website, stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that we can do actually to boost the business after this ends. So that's what I'm been doing, and I think so. I want to tell people out there, if you have not done something that you haven't done, I think so. This is the time to just read about it, explore, just go for it, and just do it. Yeah.
Thank you very much to our panelists for all that excellent sharing. We're going to open up this forum to the floor for questions. Does anyone have a question? Please unmute your mic and present the question towards any one of the panelists, or myself included. Or if you'd like to sort of put it into a question into the chat session, you want to write it down, that's fine too. Any questions? I've been noticing in all these web forums that we're doing, when we open up the questions, that people are pretty shy to ask the questions. So, if there are no questions, I'm just going to sum up what has been happening today. All of us, 4 of our panelists and me, my company, we're all in the service industry. And what I found out, and what everyone's been doing as well, is to create activity. When there's no activity, you need to create the activity, because you need to keep the energy going. Because if there's no activity and you become stagnant, then that's really going to feed on the worry of what's going to happen in the future. So creating activity means connecting with your customers and connecting with new people who were not customers before, but who could possibly become your customers after this, because they've learned from you, you've educated them, your art lessons. Maybe Prakash, a little skit on how to do comedy. And I have a very interesting story to tell you, Prakash. I have a great admiration for stand-up, comedians, because I did a course about 8 years ago in Sydney. And one of the assignments I had was to stand up and do a 10 minutes comedy skit. I've spoken on TV and radio, and I've written, for the media. I've interviewed presidents and prime ministers. The hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life was that 10-minute comedy skit. It was hard. People think you just go up there and talk and make some jokes. It is not. It's so hard. So maybe a little how I can make my presentations funny, or how I can be a quick comedian and give them the how-to, and then get them to come back and present it to you, give them marks, a little comedy class. Everyone's doing these tutorials online. Zoe's sort of gone on board with that, maybe Amirrul, some little design ideas that will enhance your business. people right now are scared to spend money. Companies are scared to spend money. So it's just giving people this information out there, becoming the thought leader in your field, becoming the voice of authority, the go-to person. That's how you're going to differentiate yourself. And whatever you are doing in terms of marketing, advertising, branding, make sure that story is interesting and exciting. Not just like we're offering this, but package it beautifully, package it in an exciting, interesting way, and you're going to catch people's attention. We want to be catching people's attention. So once again, I'd like to thank our panelists for agreeing to come on board today. Zoe, founder of ARTtherapy. Anyone wants to sign up for art classes, just go and check out their Facebook page, ARTtherapy. Prakash Daniel, comedian and photographer. I think get onto Instagram, follow him, right?
Yes,
And
okay.
yeah, if you want lessons on how to do stand-up comedy, very hard to do, but you got time, get that on board. And Amirrul, you need any designs done right now, you want to take your business to a new level, Amirrul's the person to go to. And there's Vanitha Krishnasamy at Concepts, AdMy Concepts. She'll give you some ideas on branding, what to do. And I am Sheila Singham, Human Equation, always happy to give you ideas on innovating your business strategy to move forward successfully post-COVID. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We hope it's been a very, very fruitful session for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.